Welcome back. Since the news broke of the chopper crash in which General Rawat also perished, countries across the world have come together to express their condolences. And no matter what relations you share with another country, it's considered to be basic decency. But not in the case of China, who used it to go ahead and show their lack of ethics.
India lost its topmost military commander in a tragic and devastating helicopter crash. The world was grieving with India and mourning the death of its military chief. But China stooped to another low. Beijing displayed a total lack of ethics and honor. The Chinese government's mouthpiece, Global Times, posted a tweet insulting the decorated general. It spewed venom on the death of CDS General Rawat. The state-run media called the crash a flaw of the Indian Army. The Communist Party of China's puppet newspaper went on to say that the death of General Rawat has exposed India's military modernization. Global Times said the death of India's defense chief in a helicopter crash exposed the Indian Army's lack of discipline and combat preparedness.
It is for Global Times and for the Chinese government and Communist Party mouthpiece to come up with such sort of absolute rubbish is again trying to demoralize. So I will not waste time in focusing on it at all.
I don't think we need to give any attention to this kind of rubbish, and as Ambassador Sajjanar has said, and we just need to move on and just ignore this.
From the Chinese, this kind of a thing actually shows, and there's only one Hindi word which shows कि अपनी औकात दिखा दी इन्होंने, how घटिया they are, how petty they are.
China's shameless, dishonourable and unethical propaganda doesn't come as a surprise. What else can we expect from a country characterized as a totalitarian surveillance state and a dictatorship? Bureau Report, India Today.
And here's a conversation that Gaurav Sawant had with former diplomats on the lack of decency and ethics shown by China.
Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar joins us on the broadcast. Ambassador Sajjanar, I'm sure you've read this drivel put out by Chinese official media. Some frustrated undersecretary probably in their Ministry of External Affairs, in their Foreign Office, perhaps somebody who may have had to remove the name Muhammad from his name in China may have ordered this article written. But what do you make of it?
You know what I have heard about it. First thing, Gaurav, I never waste my time in reading Global Times, frankly. Because, it is, as you put it, it's drivel. It is government propaganda by China, and I have seen enough of it to waste my time in further reading it. But what I have been told is that it mentions that it speaks about flaws in the Indian army structures, security, etc. The only thing I can say is, that this is another part of the Chinese psychological warfare, information warfare, the gray zone warfare that we've been talking about, basically trying to demoralize the enemy and trying to win a war without firing a single shot. And while, India is mourning, the whole country is mourning, but it also firms up our resolve to stand up against our enemies and basically to carry forward the task that General Bipin Rawat had started. When the country is getting together with this resolve, it is for Global Times and for the Chinese government and Communist Party mouthpiece to come up with such sort of absolute rubbish is again trying to demoralize. So I will not waste time in focusing on it at all, but basically look inwards here and do whatever we need to do. And I'm sure that the country, the leadership will be quite determined and full of resolve to achieve what we need to do. Gaurav.
Ambassador Sajjanar, please continue to stay with me. We also have Anil Trigunayath, who's also a former diplomat with us, and we wanted to get more reactions on this. Granted that the Global Times is drivel, the Global Times, tends to put out this, these mind games and, playing with emotions, trolling kinds of pieces, to try and play mind games with their adversaries. But at a time like this, one would have expected a certain amount of ethics and measure, even from someone like the Global Times. Sir, what do you think? Mr. Trigunayath, are you surprised at all that China would use a country that is in grief at this time to mock in this horrible, unethical, dishonourable manner?
Well, this is actually, as you know, Global Times is said to be the mouthpiece of the government.
Yeah.
But very often, what comes out of it is a lot of trash and kite flying most of the time. And that is something, it is a trash and it needs to be treated like a trash. And as far as India's modernization or strengthening its army and its forces is concerned or its defenses are concerned, Chinese have had a taste of it in recent times. And this is a process that will continue. And we had a very tragic incident. The country is mourning the death of General Rawat and others. But at the same time, it does not mean that we have become weakened by that. That definitely there is a leadership, and the leadership will continue to work on strengthening our defenses. So I don't think we need to give any attention to this kind of a rubbish. And as Ambassador Sajjanar has said, and we just need to move on and just sort of just ignore this. I mean, that's what I would say.
Or is this far more sinister, Ambassador? Is this actually grey zone warfare being waged by China because they realize militarily their attempts have failed? I also want to bring in Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, joining us on the broadcast. Ambassador Trigunayath, please stay with us. Ambassador Sajjanar remains with us on this special broadcast. Sushant Sareen, is this grey zone warfare? Is this China trying to demoralize India, saying you're not battle ready, your forces are not prepared, your pilots are not disciplined, at a time when they are going through worse in their country? Their soldiers are unable to fight in that ultra high altitude, and the casualties they've suffered, that they're hiding from their own nation.
Gaurav, number one, I don't agree that we should ignore this. I think we should take it up and we should show the Chinese to be as petty as they are. But frankly, if the Chinese really think that we are unprepared, we are indisciplined, we are such a, a tin pot kind of an army, why don't they try us out? When they tried us out, they found out what our armed forces are all about. And they regretted it. If the Chinese, and given the Chinese think, because the Chinese want to fight wars which they think they've already won. With India, they've always not had that kind of a situation, whether it was Doklam, and I'm not just talking about Doklam and what has happened in Galwan and Eastern Ladakh, but I'm talking about, let's go back, after the 62 war, the way we regrouped, we've taken on the Chinese.
Yes.
So, look, there is a section of population in India which tries to make the Chinese look 10 feet tall, which they are not. They're actually 5 feet tall. And frankly speaking, if they want to try us out, they can try us out. But the Global Times is a bit of a loudmouth. They are obnoxious. They're all of it. And yet we should not ignore it because it's an official mouthpiece.
Yes.
Even the Pakistanis, who I don't expect any decency from, at least officially from the ISPR, there was a decent statement. The army chief and the chairman, joint chiefs of staff, gave their condolences and all of that, which is a decent thing to do.
Yes.
The people of Pakistan did not show that decency, because if you look at the Twitter handle and you look at the reactions of the Pakistanis, I did not expect anything better from them. And so I was not surprised. But from the Chinese, this kind of a thing actually shows, and there's only one Hindi word which shows कि अपनी औकात दिखा दी इन्होंने, how घटिया they are, how petty they are.
Absolutely.
And frankly speaking, Gaurav, and I feel very strongly about it, because I happened to meet General Rawat a couple of times.
Yes.
Immense respect for the man. I didn't always agree with him, but the greatness of the man was that even when you did not agree with him, he was somebody who could take it, that somebody is disagreeing with you, and he could take it, in the spirit of things.
Absolutely.
It was not that I was disagreeing with him because of certain things, but, it was an intellectual disagreement, and he would talk about it.
No, and he would try to explain it to you, because I've had, you're absolutely right, Sushant Sareen. Shiv and I have had a number of conversations with General Bipin Rawat about theaterization, about indigenization, and he would try and get his point across. He would try to convince you. It wasn't like a four-star general was trying to force his point down your throat. He was trying to convince you about his point. Stay with me, Sushant Sareen. Group Captain Amit Ranjan. He's a former Mi-17 pilot who joins us on the broadcast. Group Captain Amit Ranjan, I wonder if you wasted time reading the drivel that's come out of Global Times in China, where they say that our pilots showed lack of professionalism. They should have either waited or flown around the cloud or gone back, or perhaps our servicing is poor. So they have absolutely no idea what's happened, and yet they have an opinion. Is that grey zone warfare? Is that psychological warfare? And has China failed completely at it and exposed, as Sushant Sareen says, their aukat?
To start off with, Chinese army per se is an army of conscripts. They are not professional army. They are not professional army. We are the largest standing army in the entire world. This factor should be understood by all the viewers and anybody who is interested in knowing about our military powers and what is our military capable of. We are standing army. We are professionals. We are not people who are taken out of school, kicked into joining the armed forces, serve for a mandatory period of 3 to 5 years and then kick back into their professions where they have to perform for the state. Here, people who join, they join voluntarily. There are no criminals which join armed forces, unlike in some very advanced countries where people with some criminal records are asked whether you want to have a jail sentence or you would like to join armed forces. They join armed forces. So we are a professional army, and I'm a very proud member, veteran of the same armed forces.
Yes.
Now, to say that our professionalism is questionable, I guess if we can be questioned, then the question should be put back to them. What is your achievement? What have you ever achieved? What did you do? They haven't done anything except stealing technology from around the world. And we have thankfully never done that job. We bought one machine, we bought another lot of it, but we did not reverse engineer, which they have done for each and every equipment which they hold. And very rightly said in the market, yaar ye Chinese maal hai, zyada din nahi tikega. So that is the sentiment.
Is that equally true of their armed forces? Is that equally true? And do the Chinese also realize it? कि ये Chinese माल है नहीं टिकेगा. It may try to browbeat you. It may have the money. China may have the money to influence some minds across the world to paint them as if they're 10 feet tall. Major General Dilawar Singh also joins Shiv and I on this special broadcast. General Dilawar, what is your appreciation? General Dilawar, I've seen you in action on ground zero at the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir fighting terrorists. Your appreciation of the Chinese army and Chinese mouthpiece drivel on General Rawat's air crash.
Firstly, I would like to say that we can laugh at it. Why should I be serious about what Global Times writes? I'll only laugh at it. They are not serious. They're trying to create mischief, but at the same time, let me tell you that today, Indian citizen is very, very wise. Our citizens do not get either browbeaten or carried away by any kind of propaganda or deliberate attempt by Chinese or anybody else to change their minds. Our citizens have total faith in the Indian Army, and each citizen of the Army is absolutely loyal, absolutely disciplined, and our combat preparedness is at the highest level, 24/7/365. That's all that I think we need to say. the Chinese can keep saying whatever. Nobody is going to believe them. And as long as somebody's statement is not credible and not trustworthy, I don't think we need to give much credence to it. And I will, in fact, go to the extent of saying that I will not labor on this subject at all.